Welcome to Keith Knight, Don't Tread on Anyone. Do libertarians secretly justify child molestation? As the meme says, but what if the child consents, though? When referring to a libertarian or anarcho-capitalist. Here is what libertarianism is. Before we start criticizing it or say what it does or does not condone, let's look at what it really is. The basic premise of this philosophy is that it is illegitimate to engage in aggression against non-aggressors. What is meant by aggression is not assertiveness, argumentativeness, competitiveness, adventurousness, quarrelsomeness, or antagonism. What is meant by aggression is the use of violence, such as that which takes place in murder, rape, robbery, or kidnapping. In other words, war is mass murder, conscription is slavery, and taxation is robbery. We know this because if anyone besides the state engaged in these activities, we'd be able to hold them to that standard. Libertarians make no exception to the golden rule and provide no moral loophole, no double standard for government. In other words, the root of morality is consent. It's what makes sex not rape, a job not slavery, and a transaction not robbery. There are two and only two ways that an economy can be organized. One is by freedom and voluntary choice, the way of the market. And the other is by force and dictation, the way of the state, by Professor Rothbard. Now, Rothbard is the one being portrayed on the left there. Does it sound like he is condoning violence against children or sex with children? Well, let's continue. The non-aggression principle is at the heart of libertarianism, simply saying that it is morally superior to deal with people on a voluntary, consensual basis rather than using violence, the method of the state. So, in short, libertarians are the ones who say consent is at the root of morality. What make the difference between a 5-year-old having sex and a 20-year-old having sex is the 5-year-old child does not have the mental capacity to consent. Now, if we look at someone in a coma, or someone having an epileptic attack, or someone so drunk they're passed out, or someone sleepwalking, these are other examples of human beings not having the capacity to consent at a certain time. So it would not be legitimate for me to say, hey, you owe me $500,000 because while you were sleepwalking, you signed your name here. While you were drunk, while you were passed out, while you had an epileptic attack, you hit me and therefore you assaulted me. No, this is not the action. These are not the actions of consenting adults. Now, dementia and Alzheimer's, those are other methods of parties not being able to consent. So in other words, the child doesn't have the mental capacity to consent. So libertarianism does not recognize the moral legitimacy of adults having sex with children on principle. You don't even have to go around and do a poll or anything. Now, let's actually look at some competing ideologies. So we know that libertarians do not recognize child molestation. We know that it's just a slanderous meme and a straw man because, you know, they have so many other good arguments that they also throw these ones in too. Yeah. So let's look at competing ideologies. Here's what progressives use when they want to justify a law. They say the people want it. The new poll says 77% of Americans believe X. Well, by every metric, the people are totally ignorant, and the fact that people want it doesn't justify it. So with regard to child molestation, do any of these ban child molestation? Well, what if people want it? Well, then I guess child molestation would be okay. Power to the people, not the small group ruling over the rest of us. Well, what if the masses want child rape? Then is it okay? We need to bash the status quo. We need something new. We need change. Well, what if people don't commit child rape? It would be change to start engaging in child rape. Well, so far, nothing in the progressive philosophy says there shouldn't be child molestation. Well, the workers need to be liberated. Well, what if that includes raping children? See, it's nothing here about consent. Nothing here about the moral difference between when someone can consent and not consent. That is the root of morality. Look at the benefits before judging. So yes, FDR might have stolen the nation's gold, and yes, the state steals trillions annually, but there's also some benefits to that. So in other words, before being against child molestation, should we do a lot of research on the benefits? Nope, the libertarian says no. We are against it in principle because the child does not have the mental capacity to consent. Oh, we need to have tolerance. So we should tolerate pedophiles and NAMBLA members, because it's all about tolerance. Well, that doesn't rule out child molestation. It's the law. You have to follow it, says Bill de Blasio and all the other leftists like Cuomo and Bernie. Well, we live in a nation state where there's laws. So what? The fact that what if child molestation was the law? There's nothing in principle against this thing that libertarians appear to be the only ideology that have a principled stance against child molestation. It could be biased in results of convictions. In other words, I'm against this law because, it disproportionately affects women or blacks or minorities or Hispanics or people of color. Well, these are all reasons they give for why they support or oppose something. There is no progressive opposition in principle. Of course, they'll say they are, but they don't have any principled justification against it like libertarians do. Well, this could perpetuate poverty. If we put pedophiles in jail, then, they'll have worse job opportunities, and then it'll harm communities, and this will just be bad. There is no progressive justification to oppose child molestation. Let's go to the conservatives. Whenever they justify something, they say, well, the Constitution says so. So if the Constitution had said men raping children is justified, then would you support it? Where's the principled opposition to child molestation here? And we get all the heat for this psycho criticism. It's traditional. Well, going back, I've heard rumors of the ancient Greeks being pedophiles and having their own boys that they would regularly have sex with, or rape, actually. Now, whenever the conservatives justify something, they always say, well, it's traditional. We've always done it this way. So what? Here's one. Pedophiles put their lives on the line. That is always the justification for whenever the police or military do something evil. Well, you have to respect them because their lives are on the line. Well, hey, like Louis C.K. says, the pedophile puts their life on the line every time they engage in child rape. It's very dangerous. That doesn't justify it. Now, look, if you think that's an extreme example, look at yes, pedophilia is terrible and causes, terrible damage. But what about all the military members of all the governments who have put their lives on the line and committed mass murder all over the world? Not just in the U.S., all the governments, Mao, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Idi Amin, King Leopold, all these terrible things. Well, they put their lives on the line, so you have to blindly respect them. Putting your life on the line is not a justification for behaving immorally. It's the law. This is one that both the donkey cult and the elephant cult have in common. So what if it's the law? If child rape was the law, would that make it justified? Well, there might be chaos, and we're for civilization, so enforcing this law just might be chaotic, or not allowing something to happen might yield negative results. So what? Where was the principled opposition against child molestation? We can use it to hurt the enemy. Look, if you can get people to justify murdering 100,000 civilians with one bomb in Japan, you can get them to justify child rape. The only reason it's not used as a tactic yet, probably, or maybe it is just because it hasn't really been put on the table. There's rumors of Abu Ghraib raping children in front of their parents. Then there you go. That could be a justification for when Republicans would support child rape. Other countries do it. Oh, yes, that's right. So whenever you criticize something immoral going on in the geographical area called America, they often respond with, well, the Taliban's worse. Well, what about Hillary? Well, what about North Korea? Well, what about Somalia? All these other terrible things. Yeah, it's evil there and it's evil here. Well, every society has had it throughout the past. Well, so what? That's no justification. Well, exposing it risks national security. Here's one. Well, they will cover up blatant murder and get mad at people like, I think his name was Hugh Thompson, the guy who exposed the My Lai massacre. Look, it's wrong to murder hundreds of innocent people, and he brought that to light, and people were mad at him. Well, what if exposing pedophiles makes other people subject to possible violence? It doesn't matter, says the libertarian. The libertarian says it violates consent. It's inherently immoral. Screw you and your national security. So if they're willing to support, putting Bradley Manning in jail for exposing the collateral murder videos, you don't think they'll cover up child pedophilia? Well, of course not. So looking back at these two ideologies, nothing in them says that child molestation is wrong. The libertarian says child molestation violates consent, yet this is thrown at us. Now, let's look at other aspects of how statist ideologies treat children, the most vulnerable among us. Libertarians say treat them with respect. Philosophers like Stefan Molyneux and libertarians embrace peaceful parenting, no hitting children. Where do statists stand on treatment of children? We know in their philosophy, there's nothing in their philosophies about why rape and child molestation is bad. There is in libertarianism. So let's look at some real-world examples. In May of 1996, Madeleine Albright, who was then ambassador to the United Nations, was asked by Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes in reference to years of U.S.-led economic sanctions against Iraq. Leslie Stahl: "We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that is more than children that died in Hiroshima, and, is the price worth it? I think that it's a very hard choice, but we think the price was worth it." Why doesn't this organization, the UN, or the U.S. government get bashed for its treatment of children online as much as libertarians are supposed to, be mistreaters of children? This is what the U.S. government does to children. I mean, this is an image of Vietnam, and libertarians get bashed for how they see children. I mean, this is both Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon. This carelessness of children crosses party lines. Here's a bunch of children that have been killed by government bombs overseas. Yes, the government does not care about children. Here's a bunch of kids starving in Yemen that the U.S. and Saudi-led coalitions have created. I mean, people supporting these people who enact these policies are telling us, libertarians, who are anti-war, anti-mass murder, anti-violations of consent, that we support the mistreatment of children. Look at these kids in Afghanistan who half their body has been blown off by IEDs in Afghanistan, either by the U.S. or the Taliban. Now, don't give me any of this, well, that's the Taliban government. Nope. Government is government. Just as we always have to take shit for, well, corporations in other countries run things, therefore we get to blame the free market on everything all businesses do. You want to play that fucking game? We're going to blame all government on the philosophy of statism. They all have in common, they violate consent. They all claim extra rights no one else has. Now, let's continue with the pro-child ideology known as statism. Well, 37 million people were killed in a war that pretty much allegedly started, according to historians, because some guys assassinated an archduke. So this is what happens. You're so worried about children and the masses and the poor. Your ideology, your cult, killed 16 million military members, many who were slaves, so it was just a slave war. Some of the worst forced labor conditions you could ever imagine. Cotton picking compared to it would be an upgrade. And 20 million people wounded, having your hand blown off, having holes in your head, can't see out of your eyes, PTSD, limbs sawn off. In the American Civil War, 75% of the 60,000 surgeries were amputees, people having no arms and no legs. I mean, imagine kids looking at their father who was back from being enslaved and saying, "Oh, why doesn't daddy have an arm or a leg? Isn't this anti-child? Doesn't this negatively harm children?" Well, the statists couldn't care less. How about kidnapping them and putting them in internment camps throughout the western parts of America with the American government and the Chinese and the Japanese internment executive order by Franklin Roosevelt? How about how governments treat kids overseas? Again, saying that it's another government, you would never justify you would never recognize the legitimacy of a libertarian saying, oh, that was corporations in another country, so you can't, pin bad things businessmen have done in other countries on us. Nope, you want to play that game? All governments, you get to be responsible for, since you advocate this ideology of statism. Oh, by the way, this is a democratic government. Democratically elected Adolf Hitler, democratically elected Franklin Roosevelt, Churchill was appointed, and this is a picture of kids in London with gas masks on because of the genocidal wars that governments have started. You don't think this traumatizes children? The people know that the kids are at risk of getting bombed. And libertarians are the anti-children philosophy. We're the ones who don't care. Statism is the anti-child philosophy. How about Barack Obama? On October 3rd, 2015, a United States Air Force gunship attacked the Kunduz Trauma Center operated by the Medicine Sans Frontiers in the city of Kunduz, in the province of the same name in northern Afghanistan. It has been reported that at least 42 people were killed and over 30 were injured. General John F. Campbell said that the airstrike was requested by Afghan forces. Oh, someone told me to do it. I'm not responsible. Who had come under Taliban fire. Campbell said the attack was a mistake, and we would never intentionally target a protected medical facility. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, then whoever did it, all those people would be in jail. Obama's embrace of drone strikes will be a lasting legacy. From the New York Times, of all groups, in the year 2016, the U.S. dropped 26,171 bombs between Syria, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. You think children were negatively affected? They were murdered. And libertarians are told, we don't care about children. By the way, these are third world countries. So if libertarians don't care about children, we're also told we don't care about the poor. No, the opposite is true. Now, it actually gets worse. Governments force your kids to go to school. This is compulsory education. Sometimes, if you get a license, they'll allow you to opt out. Now, imagine if any other organization did this. Amazon forces kids to fund and attend Amazon schools. We'd see that as psychopathic mind control. Now, in the year 2015, there were 500 educators arrested for sexual misconduct against children. In this study from the Children's Center for Psychiatry, Psychology, and Related Services, an article titled "Sexual Abuse by Teachers is on the Rise." Where is this criticism? You know, we're always bashing the priests in the Catholic Church, who of course deserve it. But when it comes to the cult of the state, well, no one can criticize them. Of children in 8th through 11th grade, about 3.5 million students, nearly 7% surveyed, reported having had physical sexual contact from an adult, most often a teacher or coach. Oh, watch out for libertarians. They don't care about consent. This figure increases to about 4.5 million children, 10%, when it takes other types of sexual misconduct into consideration, such as being shown pornography or being subjected to sexually explicit language or exhibitionism. So, in other words, this is when the pedophile is only at stage 2 of stage 3, eventually assaulting them. But they often don't get the chance to, thankfully. Now, this is a big problem. And why is it that libertarians are seen as the anti-children group when, you know, like I said, we have people like Stefan Molyneux who've been advocating peaceful parenting since the start of his show? We also have people in high positions of the donkey cult and the Republican cult associating themselves with pedophiles. We have Dennis Hastert, third in line to be president of the United States, admittedly raping children in the 1980s. Now, what if someone knew that? Imagine the amount of leverage they would have on him while he was Secretary of State. I'm sorry, I think he was Speaker of the House. We have Jimmy Savile, who was friends with the Queen. He was inside the royal family, working for the BBC, one of the biggest media outlets in the world. We have the Reagan White House involving Bush Sr. Homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan and Bush. Callboys took midnight tour of the White House. Now, this is the anti-children philosophy right here, the philosophy of statism. How Thatcher's government covered up a VIP pedophile ring. Very interesting story, according to the Daily Beast. We have a number of examples of this. Who Took Johnny, the documentary that can be found on Netflix. The Franklin Scandal, the story of power brokers, child abuse, and betrayal by Nick Bryant, who cites primary sources. The Franklin Cover-Up, child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska by State Senator John DeCamp. There's a documentary, Conspiracy of Silence, VIP pedophiles and the Franklin Cover-Up, Why Johnny Can't Come Home by Noreen Gosh, where she goes into the details. So again, here are all the examples of statists not caring about children, and libertarians get blamed with it. Look, there's nothing in their philosophy, because they have no philosophy. They have opinions assigned to them by the media and politicians. There's nothing in their philosophy that bans violations of consent, so we shouldn't be surprised when they have all these atrocities against peaceful civilians, as we mentioned earlier. So here is the basic idea of this presentation. Only anarcho-capitalists and libertarians have a principled pro-child position. Anyone who violates consent is acting in opposition to libertarianism. A child who doesn't have the capacity to consent mentally should not be aggressed against, just as an adult shouldn't be if they are in a coma, having a seizure, if they're mentally handicapped, severely retarded, or anything else. So, the criticism is not only illegitimate, libertarians are the only pro-child, pro-peace, pro-voluntarism ideology. Competing ideologies do not oppose child molestation. In fact, they condone things that are far worse than child molesters ever commit. Thank you for watching Keith Knight. Don't tread on anyone.